The pill bottle felt heavier than it should. Naomi Carter stood frozen in her bathroom, staring at the prescription bottle in her hand. Something was wrong. The tablets inside looked different. Same bottle, same label, but the pills themselves had a slightly different shape. A different shade of white. Her hand trembled as she set the bottle down on the marble counter. Her reflection stared back at her in the mirror, a beautiful 42-year-old African-American woman with natural curls pulled into a neat bun, brown eyes now filled with confusion and something else. Fear. This morning she'd come home 3 days early from her business conference in Atlanta. The tech company she'd built from nothing had just secured a $12 million contract, and she couldn't wait to surprise Garrett with the news. 15 years of marriage deserved celebration. But Garrett wasn't happy to see her. He'd actually jumped when she walked through the door of their suburban Detroit home, his phone clattering to the hardwood floor. Naomi, you're home early. His light brown eyes had widened, and sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cool October air. Surprise. She'd laughed, setting down her luggage. I couldn't wait to tell you the news in person. We got the contract, baby. All 12 million. Garrett had hugged her, but his body was stiff, mechanical. That's great. Really great. His voice sounded hollow. Something in his tone made her stomach twist, but she pushed the feeling away. They'd had a good marriage. Sure, the last 2 years had been rocky. Garrett's construction business had failed, and he'd been distant, spending more time out with clients than home with her. But they were solid. They had history. Or so she thought. That afternoon, while Garrett was in the shower, his phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. Naomi glanced at it out of habit and froze. The message preview read, "Is everything ready for tomorrow night? Once she takes those pills, it'll be over. They'll think it's her heart. Then we can finally be together. I love you." Naomi's blood turned to ice. Her fingers moved before her brain could catch up, unlocking his phone with the passcode she'd always known, their anniversary. The full message thread made her knees weak. Felicia. The name appeared again and again. Garrett's assistant from his old company. Naomi had met her twice, a thin woman in her early 30s with blonde hair and a smile that never reached her eyes. The messages went back 8 months. Love confessions. Plans to start over. And then, 3 weeks ago, the tone changed. She's worth more dead than divorced, Garrett had written. The life insurance alone is $3 million. Plus, her company, the house, the investments. If she just had an accident, we'd have everything. Felicia's response, what kind of accident? She takes medication for her blood pressure. What if those pills were different? Heart attack. Tragic. Sudden. People would believe it, especially if we plant evidence she was depressed. Suicidal, even. Can you do that? My cousin works at a pharmacy. He owes me. I can swap out her medication. The new pills will trigger cardiac arrest. Combined with the stress from work, no one would question it. We just need to make sure she takes them consistently for a few days. Naomi's vision blurred as she read message after message. They'd planned everything. Garrett had already forged pages of a fake journal, writing in what he thought was her handwriting about depression, hopelessness, thoughts of ending it all. He'd researched her company's succession plan. He'd even contacted her lawyer, pretending to check on things in case something happened to her. The shower stopped running upstairs. Naomi quickly locked the phone and set it back exactly where it had been. Her heart hammered against her ribs so hard she thought it might burst through. She moved to the kitchen island, gripping the cold granite to steady herself. Garrett came downstairs in fresh clothes, his dark hair damp. He was still handsome at 45, tall and fit from years of physical labor. She'd fallen in love with his smile, his laugh, the way he used to look at her like she was the only woman in the world. Now, looking at him, all she could see was a stranger who wanted her dead. You okay, babe? He asked, moving toward the refrigerator. You look pale. Just tired from the trip, Naomi managed, her voice surprisingly steady. Long flight. Why don't you take your medication and rest? Garrett suggested, his tone casual. Too casual. I'll order dinner. Her medication. The pills he'd replaced with poison. Actually, I already took them this morning, she lied smoothly. I'm good. Something flickered in his eyes. Disappointment? Frustration? You sure? You always take them at night. Change my routine on the trip. Different time zones. Naomi forced a smile. I'm going to check some emails upstairs. Order whatever you want for dinner. She climbed the stairs on shaking legs, went into her home office and locked the door. Then she pulled out her personal laptop, the one Garrett never touched, and opened her encrypted files. Naomi Carter hadn't built a multi-million-dollar tech company by being careless. She believed in backups, in documentation, in having a plan B. She'd always thought those habits were for business. She never imagined she'd need them to save her life. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. First, she forwarded the photos of Garrett's messages to her secure cloud storage. Then she opened her financial accounts, checking every single one. Everything was still in her name, but she saw Lled had been researching how to access them as her spouse. Next she pulled up her will. Last updated 5 years ago, it left everything to Lled. Her stomach churned. If his plan had worked, he would have gotten everything. Her company. Her wealth. Her life's work. All of it, gone to a man who wanted her dead and his mistress who helped him plan it. Not anymore. Naomi opened a new document and began typing. She had to be smart about this. If she confronted Lled directly, there was no telling what he might do. If she went to the police right now, would they even believe her? She'd need more evidence, more proof of the plot. She needed time. A knock on the door made her jump. Naomi? Dinner's here. I got your favorite Thai food from that place on Main Street. Her favorite? How thoughtful. How normal. How absolutely terrifying. Be right down, she called out. She saved her work, cleared her browser history, and stood up. In the reflection of her office window, she saw herself, really saw herself. A successful businesswoman. A fighter. A survivor who'd overcome poverty, discrimination, and every obstacle life had thrown at her. She wasn't going to let Lled and Felicia take any of that away. Naomi walked downstairs to have dinner with the man who was trying to murder her, and she smiled. Because now she knew. And knowledge was power. She just had to stay alive long enough to use it. Naomi barely tasted the pad thai in front of her. Across the table, Lled ate normally, talking about his day, mentioning he might go fishing with some friends this weekend. Everything about him seemed ordinary, casual, safe. But Naomi now saw the truth beneath the mask. Every smile was a lie. Every kind word was manipulation. You're quiet tonight, Lled observed, setting down his fork. Thought you'd be more excited about the contract. Just processing everything, Naomi said. Big win for the company. Lots to think about. You worked too hard. He reached across the table and touched her hand. His skin felt cold. You should slow down. Take care of yourself. All that stress isn't good for your health. The irony wasn't lost on her. He was pretending to care about her health while actively trying to end her life. You're right, she agreed, pulling her hand back under the guise of reaching for her water glass. I'll try to rest more. After dinner, Lled settled in the living room to watch television. Naomi excused herself, claiming she needed to catch up on emails and return to her office. She had a plan, but she needed more evidence. Much more. Using her laptop, Naomi ordered small recording devices online with rush delivery to her office address, not home. Then she called her assistant, Brianna, a sharp 28-year-old who'd been with her for 3 years. Brianna, I need a favor, and I need you not to ask questions yet. Of course. What's going on? I need you to receive a package tomorrow and hold it for me. Don't tell anyone. I'll explain everything soon, I promise. There was a pause. Naomi, are you okay? You sound. I will be. Just trust me. Always. Naomi hung up and continued her work. She accessed the security camera system in their home, something she'd installed 2 years ago when Garrett's business was failing and he'd seemed paranoid about break-ins. The cameras covered the living room, kitchen, and all exterior doors. Only the bedrooms and bathrooms were private. She'd barely used the system since installation. Now she was grateful for it. Naomi set the cameras to record continuously and upload to her private cloud storage. Whatever Lled did, whatever conversations he had, she'd have a record. Next she called her bank. Hi, this is Naomi Carter. I need to discuss security measures on my accounts. The representative was helpful. Naomi set up 2-factor authentication on every account, changed all her passwords, and established verbal passwords that would be required for any major transactions. She also added alerts that would notify her immediately of any access attempts. It was nearly midnight when she finished. Her eyes burned from staring at the computer screen, but she couldn't stop. Her life depended on this. A soft knock startled her. Babe, you coming to bed? Naomi's heart raced, but she kept her voice calm. In a minute. Almost done. She heard Garrett's footsteps retreat. Moving quickly, she opened a new browser window and searched for lawyers specializing in criminal cases. She found 3 highly rated attorneys in Detroit and saved their information. Then she did something that made her hands shake. She searched for evidence of how someone might swap medication pills. The results were chilling. It was easier than she'd thought. If someone had access to your medication and the right pills, they could swap them out in minutes. The pills Garrett had given her were likely designed to cause cardiac arrest while mimicking a natural heart attack. Combined with forged evidence of depression and suicidal thoughts, it would look like she'd taken her own life. Perfect murder. Except Naomi knew about it now. She finally went to the bedroom. Garrett was already in bed, scrolling through his phone. He looked up when she entered, and for just a second she saw something in his eyes. Calculation. Assessment. Took you long enough, he said lightly. Naomi changed into her nightclothes in the bathroom, avoiding his gaze. When she climbed into bed, she stayed on her side, claiming exhaustion. Good night, she whispered. Night, babe. Love you. The words sounded hollow. How long had it been since he'd actually meant them? Naomi lay in the darkness, listening to Garrett's breathing slow as he fell asleep. She stared at the ceiling, her mind racing. She must have dozed off because she woke suddenly to the sound of whispering. The bedside clock read 3:17 a.m. Garrett's side of the bed was empty. Naomi slipped out of bed silently and crept to the door. It was slightly ajar, and she could hear Garrett's voice coming from downstairs. I told you she came home early? No, she hasn't taken the pills since she got back. I know, but I can't force her. Tomorrow I'll make sure of it. I'll watch her take them myself. Naomi's blood ran cold. She eased the door open a bit more, trying to hear better. Felicia, calm down. This is still going to work. Once she takes them for a few days, her system will be so compromised that even if they test her, it'll look natural. The heart attack will be real. Yes, the journal pages are ready. I've been adding to them. By the time anyone reads them, they'll believe she was planning this for weeks. No one suspects anything. She's too focused on her company to notice what's happening at home. Naomi pressed her hand against her mouth to keep from making a sound. Hearing him discuss her murder so casually, so clinically, made her want to scream. Just a few more days, baby. Then we'll have everything. The insurance money, her company, all of it. We can get married, move somewhere nice. Maybe California. Start fresh. I love you too. See you tomorrow. Naomi heard footsteps and scrambled back to bed, pulling the covers up just as Garrett opened the bedroom door. She kept her breathing even, pretending to sleep. She felt him climb back into bed beside her. Felt the mattress shift as he settled in. The man who'd just been planning her death was now lying inches away from her. Naomi had never felt so terrified in her life. But beneath the fear, something else was growing. Something cold and hard and sharp. Anger. She'd spent 15 years with this man. Built a life with him. Supported him when his business failed. She'd loved him truly and completely. And this was how he repaid her. With betrayal. With conspiracy. With murder. No. Naomi made a decision in that dark bedroom. She wasn't just going to survive this. She was going to make sure Garrett and Felicia paid for what they'd tried to do. As dawn broke through the bedroom window, Naomi got up and went through her morning routine. She showered, dressed in a navy blue pantsuit, and did her makeup. In the mirror she looked the same as always, professional, confident, successful. But inside everything had changed. Garrett came downstairs as she was making coffee. You're up early. Lots to do at the office, Naomi said pleasantly. The new contract means new projects, new hires. Exciting times. Don't forget your medication. Garrett reached for the pill bottle on the counter. Naomi's stomach clenched, but she smiled. Oh, I already took them. Right when I woke up. His jaw tightened for just a second before he recovered. You sure? I didn't see you. While you were still asleep. I was trying to be quiet. She poured coffee into her travel mug. I'll be home late tonight. Video conference with the Atlanta team. Okay. Well, have a good day. Garrett moved toward her as if to kiss her goodbye, but Naomi was already heading for the door. You too. She practically ran to her car, her heart pounding. Once inside with the doors locked, she let out a shaky breath. The pill bottle sat in her purse. She'd swapped it out this morning while Garrett was still asleep, replacing it with a bottle of actual blood pressure medication from her office first aid kit. The poison pills were now in a sealed plastic bag in her purse. Evidence. Naomi drove to her office building, a modern glass structure in downtown Detroit that she'd designed herself. Her company, Technova Solutions, occupied the top 3 floors. She'd started it 12 years ago with a laptop and a dream, and now they employed over 200 people. She wasn't going to let Garrett steal this from her. Brianna was at her desk when Naomi arrived. The package came. I put it in your office like you asked. Thank you. Naomi paused. Can you clear my afternoon? I need a few hours free. Already done. I figured you'd need time to think after the big contract news. Naomi squeezed her assistant's shoulder gratefully. You're the best. In her office, Naomi opened the package. Inside were 6 tiny recording devices, each no bigger than a button. They were voice-activated and could record for up to 48 hours on a single charge. She spent the next hour researching exactly where to place them in her house for maximum coverage. Then she made a call she'd been dreading. Law offices of Patterson and Associates. Hi, I need to speak with an attorney about a criminal matter. It's urgent. 10 minutes later, Naomi was on a video call with attorney Simone Patterson, a black woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Tell me everything, Simone said. And Naomi did. She explained about the messages, the pills, the overhead conversation, everything. She showed Simone the screenshots she'd taken, the threatening pills in the sealed bag. Simone listened carefully, taking notes. When Naomi finished, the attorney was quiet for a long moment. This is attempted murder, Simone finally said. Premeditated conspiracy to commit murder. If we can prove it, your husband and this woman could face decades in prison. I need to prove it, Naomi said firmly. I need enough evidence that there's no doubt. The pills are good, but we need more. We need documentation of the plan, recorded conversations, financial trails showing motive. We need to build an airtight case. I'm working on it. I ordered recording devices. Simone leaned forward. Naomi, I need you to understand something. You're in real danger. If your husband suspects he might do something rash, you should consider leaving the house, staying somewhere safe. If I leave, he'll know something is wrong. I need to act normal for a few more days while I gather evidence. That's incredibly risky. I know. Naomi met the lawyer's eyes through the screen. But I'm not letting him win. I'm not letting him take everything I've built. And I'm definitely not letting him get away with trying to kill me. Simone studied her for a long moment, then nodded. All right. But we do this smart. You install those recording devices tonight. I'll start building a case file. And Naomi? Don't eat or drink anything he gives you. Don't take any medication from that house. And if you feel threatened in any way, you call 911 immediately. Understood. Understood. After the call, Naomi sat at her desk, staring out at the Detroit skyline. The city had been her home her whole life. She'd grown up in a small apartment on the east side, raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs to keep them fed. She'd fought her way through college, built a business from nothing, and created a life she was proud of. Garrett thought he could just take it all away. He was wrong. Naomi opened her laptop and started making lists. Evidence she needed. Steps she had to take. People she could trust. By the time the sun set, she had a plan. Now she just had to execute it without getting killed. Naomi waited until Garrett left for his morning errands before she moved. She'd been tracking his location through the app they'd installed years ago for convenience. Now it served a different purpose. She watched the little dot representing Garrett's phone move across the map toward the mall on the north side of town. Good. That gave her at least 2 hours. Moving quickly, Naomi retrieved the recording devices from her car. She'd practiced the placement last night in her mind, memorizing exactly where each one would go. The first device went behind the living room curtain rod, tiny and black, practically invisible unless you knew to look for it. The second she placed inside a decorative vase on the kitchen counter. The third went in the home office Garrett used, tucked behind a row of books he never read. The fourth device was the trickiest. She needed it in the bedroom, but somewhere Garrett would never find it. She finally settled on the inside of the air vent, using a small magnet to attach it to the metal grating. Perfect. The fifth went in the garage, and the sixth she kept as a backup. Each device was voice-activated and would record any conversation within 30 feet. The audio would upload to her secure cloud storage automatically. Now she'd have proof of whatever Garrett and Felicia discussed. Naomi checked the app again. Garrett was still at the mall. She had time for the next phase. She opened her laptop and began systematically moving her assets. Her personal savings account, checking account, investment portfolio. Everything went into new accounts Garrett didn't know about. She set up transfers that would clear within 3 business days. Her business accounts were already protected. As CEO and sole owner of Technova Solutions, Garrett had no legal access to those funds. But she added extra security measures anyway, creating multiple layers of authentication. The house was trickier. They owned it jointly, a decision she now regretted deeply. But she had the original down payment records, proof that the money had come from her accounts. If it came to court, she could fight for full ownership. Next, she accessed her life insurance policy, the one Garrett was counting on collecting. The policy had a clause about death by suicide. It wouldn't pay out if she died by her own hand within 2 years of the policy date. But after that, even suicide was covered. Garrett knew this. That's why he'd been so careful about the setup, making it look like depression leading to natural cardiac arrest, with the suicide evidence as backup if anyone questioned it. Naomi changed the beneficiary with a few clicks. No longer Garrett Carter. Now it was her mother, Helen Brooks, who lived in a retirement community in Florida. She made similar changes to her retirement accounts, her business succession plan, everything. If something did happen to her, Garrett wouldn't see a penny. The front door opened. Naomi quickly closed her laptop and stood up, her heart racing. Garrett wasn't supposed to be back yet. The app showed him still at the mall. "Naomi? You home?" His voice echoed through the house. She moved to the bedroom door. "Yeah, just working from home today. Needed some quiet time to focus on the contract details." Garrett appeared at the bottom of the stairs holding shopping bags. "I thought you'd be at the office." "Change of plans." She forced a smile. "What did you buy?" "Just some new shirts." "Needed an update." He studied her face. "You sure you're feeling okay? You've seemed off since you got back from Atlanta." "Just tired." "The project is intense." Naomi descended the stairs, keeping her body language relaxed even though every muscle was tense. "I'm actually glad you're home. I wanted to talk to you about something." Concern crossed his features, but she saw the calculation behind it. "What's up?" "I've been thinking about us," Naomi said carefully. She'd rehearsed this conversation in her head all morning. "About our marriage. Things have been difficult since your business closed, and I feel like we've grown apart." Garrett's expression shifted. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe we should try couples therapy. Really work on our relationship. I love you and I want us to be strong again." The lies tasted bitter, but she delivered them smoothly. "We've invested 15 years into this marriage. That's worth fighting for." She watched his face carefully. This was a test. If he agreed to therapy, it would derail his timeline. He'd have to wait longer to execute his plan. But if he refused, it would seem suspicious. That's a great idea," Garrett said slowly. "I've been feeling the distance too. Yeah, let's do it. Let's find a therapist." Liar. Such a good liar. "I'll start looking for someone this week," Naomi said. "Maybe we can get an appointment next month." Sure. Garrett set down his shopping bags and moved closer. "I'm really glad we're working on this, babe. I do love you, you know." Naomi let him hug her, fighting the urge to push him away. His arms felt like a cage. "I love you too," she whispered into his shoulder, another lie. That afternoon, while Garrett watched football downstairs, Naomi called attorney Simone from her locked office. "The recording devices are in place," she reported quietly. "And I've moved my assets to protected accounts." "Good," Simone approved. "Now comes the hard part. We wait and gather evidence. Do nothing that would make him suspicious." "I told him I want couples therapy." Simone was quiet for a moment. "Smart. That'll confuse him, make him uncertain about the timeline." "That's what I thought." Naomi paused. "How long do I have to keep this up? Living with him, pretending everything is normal?" "Until we have enough evidence to guarantee a conviction. We need recordings of him discussing the plot, financial records showing motive, testimony from witnesses. Right now we have circumstantial evidence. We need concrete proof. So I just wait? While he tries to kill me?" "You stay vigilant," Simone corrected firmly. "You don't eat or drink anything he prepares. You don't take any medication from the house. You document everything. And the moment you feel unsafe, you leave. Your life is more important than evidence." Naomi understood, but frustration burned in her chest. She was used to taking action, solving problems, being in control. This passive approach felt wrong. But she'd do it. Because she'd do whatever it took to survive and see Garrett pay for his betrayal. Over the next 3 days, Naomi perfected the art of pretending. She smiled at Garrett over breakfast. She discussed mundane household topics. She acted like a wife who loved her husband and suspected nothing. And all the while, the recording devices captured everything. On the 4th day, Naomi checked the recordings during her lunch break at the office. Most of it was boring. Garrett watching TV, talking to himself about grocery lists, making phone calls to friends. But then one recording made her freeze. Garrett's voice. "It's not working. She's not taking the pills regularly. I think she switched them out or something." "No, she hasn't said anything, but I can tell." She's different. We need a new plan. Felicia's voice. What kind of new plan? Something faster. Maybe we stage a break-in, make it look like a robbery gone wrong? No, wait, that's too obvious. What if we make it look like an accident? She goes running every morning. What if she had a fall, hit her head? That's risky. Too many variables. Then what? I can't wait anymore. She's already started talking about marriage counseling. If we go to therapy, she might mention feeling unsafe or suspicious. We need to act now. Okay. Let me think. There has to be a way. The recording ended there, but Naomi had heard enough. They were escalating. Getting desperate. That made them more dangerous. She immediately called Simone. I need to disappear, Naomi said without preamble. They're planning something new, something fast. I can't stay in that house. Agreed. Let me make some arrangements. Can you get away tonight? Yes. I'll tell Garrett I have a business emergency. Conference call with international clients. Need to stay at the office overnight. Good. Pack a bag with essentials. Nothing he'd notice missing. We'll find you a safe place to stay. That evening, Naomi told Garrett about the emergency conference call. Really? Tonight. He seemed frustrated. Tokyo office. Time zone difference means we have to meet at midnight. I'll just crash in my office. It's easier than driving home at 3 in the morning. Garrett's expression was hard to read. Fine. I'll see you tomorrow then. Naomi packed her laptop, some clothes, important documents, and the original bottle of poison pills. She left the house at 8 p.m., but instead of going to her office, she drove to a hotel on the other side of Detroit. Attorney Simone met her in the lobby. Room 412. It's registered under my firm's name. No one will trace it to you. Thank you. Naomi felt exhaustion hitting her like a wave. I can't believe this is my life now. Hiding from my own husband. This is temporary, Simone assured her. We're building the case. Soon he'll be the one hiding in a prison cell. In the hotel room, Naomi finally let herself cry. She'd been holding it together for days, staying strong, keeping up the pretense. But alone in the anonymous room, the reality crashed over her. The man she'd married, the man she'd loved, wanted her dead. He'd planned it carefully, coldly with his mistress. They'd discussed it like it was a business transaction, not the end of a human life. Her life. Naomi cried until there were no tears left. Then she washed her face, ordered room service, and opened her laptop. Crying wouldn't save her. But evidence would. She spent the next hours reviewing every recording, every message, every document. She created a timeline of events, connected all the pieces, built a narrative that would be impossible to deny. And as she worked, a new emotion replaced the fear and sadness. Determination. Garrett and Felicia thought they were so clever. They thought they'd gotten away with it. They were probably celebrating right now, planning their future together with her money. They had no idea what was coming. Naomi Carter was not a victim. She was a fighter. And she was about to fight the battle of her life. Naomi stayed at the hotel for 3 days, telling Garrett that the international project had complications requiring her constant attention. He seemed to accept this, though his texts grew increasingly impatient. When are you coming home? I miss you. We need to talk when you get back. That last one made her nervous. What did he want to talk about? Had he figured out she knew? Or was he planning to escalate his attempts? She didn't respond to most of his messages, claiming she was too busy with work. Meanwhile, attorney Simone was working with a private investigator to dig deeper into Garrett and Felicia's activities. The investigator, a retired police detective named Thomas Hayes, called Naomi on her burner phone. I've been following your husband, Thomas said, his voice gravelly from years of smoking. He met with Felicia Green yesterday at a coffee shop on 3rd Street. I recorded their conversation with a directional microphone. What did they say? A lot. They're panicking because you're not home. They think their window of opportunity is closing. Garrett mentioned that you've been acting strange, and Felicia suggested maybe you suspect something. Naomi's heart raced. Did they mention what they plan to do? That's the interesting part. They're arguing. Felicia wants to back out, says it's too risky now. But Garrett is insistent. He's got debt collectors breathing down his neck. Apparently, his failed business left him owing serious money to some dangerous people. He needs your insurance payout and access to your accounts. How much does he owe? North of $200,000. He's been hiding it from you, taking out loans in his name using the house as collateral. Naomi felt sick. He used our house? Without your knowledge or signature, which is illegal since you're both on the deed. But yeah, he forged your signature on loan documents. That's fraud, and I've got copies of everything. So he's not just a murderer. He's also a thief and a fraud. Bingo. This guy's in deep, Mrs. Carter. Real deep. Which makes him unpredictable and dangerous. After hanging up with Thomas, Naomi sat on the hotel bed and stared at the wall. The full picture was coming together, and it was worse than she'd imagined. Garrett hadn't just stopped loving her. He'd actively destroyed their life together, piling up debt and legal problems, all while planning to kill her for insurance money. And Felicia had encouraged it, probably seeing dollar signs and a chance to play house with someone else's husband. They'd underestimated her, though. Attorney Simone arrived that evening with more news. I've been in contact with the district attorney's office. They're interested in the case, but they need more. The recordings are good, but defense lawyers could argue they're out of context or misinterpreted. We need something definitive. Like what? Like catching them in the act. Like getting a confession on record. Like building such an overwhelming case that they have no choice but to plead guilty. Naomi thought for a moment, then an idea formed. What if I give them what they want? What do you mean? What if I give them the perfect opportunity to make their move? I go home, I tell Garrett I'm not feeling well, I create the exact scenario they've been waiting for. But this time we're ready. We're watching. We're recording everything. Simone frowned. That's using you as bait. It's dangerous. It's also the fastest way to end this. I can't hide forever. And every day I wait, Garrett gets more desperate and more dangerous. Let's control the situation. Let's set the trap. You need protection. Surveillance. A way to signal for help immediately if things go wrong. Then we arrange it. Thomas can be nearby. You can monitor the recordings in real time. And I'll wear a panic button that alerts the police if I press it. Simone studied her carefully. You're sure about this? I'm sure I want my life back, Naomi said firmly. And I'm sure I want Garrett and Felicia behind bars. This is how we make that happen. They spent the next 2 days planning. Thomas installed additional cameras around the house, hidden in smoke detectors and light fixtures. Simone coordinated with the local police department, getting them on standby. And Naomi prepared herself mentally for what was coming. On the 6th day, Naomi went home. Garrett was in the garage when she pulled into the driveway. He came out immediately, his expression a mix of relief and something darker. Finally, he said, I was starting to think you'd moved out. Sorry, the project was a nightmare. Naomi grabbed her bag from the car, her hands steady despite her racing heart. I'm exhausted. You look pale. Are you feeling okay? Just tired and stressed. I think I might be coming down with something. She saw the flash of interest in his eyes. Opportunity. You should rest, Garrett said quickly. Go lie down. I'll make you some tea. That sounds good. Naomi headed inside, very aware that Thomas was watching from a van parked 3 houses down, and that Simone was monitoring every word through the hidden microphones. She went upstairs to the bedroom, changed into comfortable clothes, and lay down. Her phone was in her pocket, the panic button app ready to activate with one touch. Garrett appeared with a steaming mug. Here. Chamomile tea with honey. It'll help you relax. Naomi took the mug, noting how he watched her carefully. Thank you. You're sweet. Anything for you, babe. She pretended to sip the tea but didn't actually drink it. When Garrett left the room, she quickly poured it into a water bottle she'd prepared, sealing it for evidence. Over the next hours, Garrett kept checking on her. Each time, he seemed disappointed to find her still awake and alert. You should really sleep, he kept saying. You need rest. I will just want to finish answering some emails first. As evening approached, Naomi heard Garrett on the phone downstairs. She crept to the top of the stairs, listening. She's home, but she won't sleep. I don't know, maybe she's suspicious? No, she drank the tea, but it doesn't seem to be affecting her. What? You added something to it? How much? That much? Felicia, that could kill her right now. I know, but we need it to look natural. Fine. Come over tomorrow. We'll figure something else out. Naomi's blood ran cold. The tea had been drugged. If she'd actually drunk it, she'd be unconscious right now, maybe worse. She quickly returned to the bedroom and texted Simone. Tea was drugged. Got sample in water bottle on dresser. He's planning something tomorrow with Felicia. The response came quickly. Police are ready. Tomorrow we make our move. Stay safe tonight. Lock your door. Naomi did exactly that. She locked the bedroom door from the inside and propped a chair under the handle for extra security. Then she sat on the bed with her phone in hand, ready to call for help at the first sign of trouble. Garrett knocked around 10 p.m. Naomi? Why is the door locked? Sorry, habit from the hotel. 1 second. She removed the chair and unlocked the door. He stood in the hallway studying her. You okay? Yeah, just being paranoid. The hotel had some security issues. Oh. You seem to accept this. Well, good night. Get some rest. Good night. She locked the door again after he left. Naomi didn't sleep that night. She couldn't. She sat up in bed, watching the door, listening to every sound in the house. Around 3 a.m., she heard footsteps outside the bedroom. The doorknob turned slowly, testing if it was locked. When it didn't open, the footsteps retreated. Had Garrett been trying to get in? What would he have done if the door was unlocked? She didn't want to know. As dawn broke, Naomi finally allowed herself to doze for an hour. When she woke, she could hear Garrett moving around downstairs. She checked her phone. 3 texts from Simone. Ready when you are. Police are in position. Today we end this. Naomi took a deep breath, steadying herself. She'd been scared, angry, hurt. But now she felt something else. Power. Today she wasn't the victim in Garrett's murder plot. Today she was the one setting the trap. And Garrett and Felicia were about to walk right into it. Naomi came downstairs at 8 a.m., deliberately looking tired and weak. She'd done her research on what symptoms the drug in the tea would cause: dizziness, fatigue, confusion. She could play the part. Garrett was in the kitchen making breakfast. Morning. How'd you sleep? Not great. I feel really weird. She touched her forehead. Dizzy. Maybe I'm getting the flu? You should stay home from work today. Rest. Yeah, maybe you're right. Naomi sat at the kitchen table, resting her head in her hands. I just need to lie down. Go back to bed. I'll take care of everything. She nodded and shuffled back upstairs, but she didn't go to the bedroom. Instead, she went to her home office and checked her laptop, where she could access all the hidden camera feeds in real time. Thomas's voice came through her earbud, quiet and professional. Good performance down there. He's texting someone now. Naomi switched to the kitchen camera feed. Garrett had his phone out, typing rapidly. A moment later, her monitoring software captured the message. She's weak and dizzy. He worked. Come over at noon. We'll do it today. The response from Felicia. Finally. I'll be there. Make sure she's asleep. Naomi's hands clenched into fists. Make sure she's asleep. Make sure she's helpless. Make sure she's an easy victim. Not today. She texted Simone. They're planning it for noon today. Felicia is coming over. Police are ready. We'll move in the moment we have enough evidence. At 11:30, Naomi heard a car pull into the driveway. She watched through the window as Felicia emerged, carrying a large purse and looking around nervously before approaching the front door. Garrett let her in quickly, glancing around as if checking for witnesses. Is she asleep? Felicia's voice carried up through the vents. Yeah, finally. The dosage you gave me knocked her out cold. Good. Let's make this quick. Naomi crept to the top of the stairs, her phone recording everything as backup to the hidden microphones. So how do we do this? Felicia asked. I've been thinking about it. We make it look like she fell down the stairs. Head trauma. Quick, tragic, accidental. Will that work? She's already drugged, already unstable. We say she was feeling sick, got dizzy, fell. The autopsy will show the drugs in her system, but we'll say she must have taken something for the illness. No one will question it. Naomi's stomach turned. They were discussing her murder with the same tone someone might use to discuss grocery shopping. And after? Felicia pressed. What's the timeline? I play the grieving husband for a while. A few months, maybe. Then we start seeing each other publicly. Eventually we get married. No one will suspect anything. What about the insurance money? One of the officers spoke up. Ma'am, we'll need your full statement at the station. Of course. Naomi descended the stairs, walking past Garrett and Felicia without looking at them. I have extensive evidence. Recordings, documents, everything you need. Naomi, please? Garrett's voice broke. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I didn't have a choice. I owe money to dangerous people. They were going to kill me. So you decided to kill me instead? She finally turned to look at him. I loved you. I supported you. I would have helped you with the debt if you'd just been honest. But you chose this. You chose to throw away 15 years for money. I'm sorry. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. Attorney Simone appeared at the front door with Thomas. Naomi, let's go. They'll take it from here. As Naomi walked out of the house, she heard Felicia wailing. This isn't fair. It was supposed to work. We had everything planned. That was the problem with their plan, Naomi thought. They'd underestimated her. They'd seen her as a target, a payout, an obstacle to remove. They hadn't seen her as the intelligent, resourceful, strong woman she actually was. And that mistake would cost them everything. Outside, neighbors had gathered, watching the scene with confusion and concern. Naomi ignored their stares and got into Thomas's car. "You did good in there," Thomas said as he drove away. "Stayed calm, got them to confess everything." How much did the microphones capture? Everything. Full confession of intent to murder, discussion of method, motive, timeline. Combined with the drug tea, the forged documents, and the financial evidence, this case is airtight. At the police station, Naomi spent hours giving her statement. She handed over the bottle of poison pills, the water bottle containing the drug tea, the recordings from her hidden devices, and documentation of all of Garrett's financial fraud. The detective interviewing her, a woman named Lieutenant Harris, shook her head in amazement. "Mrs. Carter, you built one hell of a case. Most attempted murder cases rely on circumstantial evidence. You've got a full paper trail, recordings, physical evidence, everything. I wasn't going to let them get away with it. They won't. With everything you've provided, the district attorney will have no problem getting a conviction." As the sun set, Naomi finally left the police station. Attorney Simone drove her back to the hotel. "You should stay here a bit longer," Simone advised. "The house is a crime scene now, and you probably don't want to be there anyway." "No, I don't." Naomi leaned back in the seat, exhaustion finally catching up with her. "What happens now?" "They'll be arraigned tomorrow. Bail will be set, probably very high given the severity of the charges. Then there'll be a preliminary hearing and eventually a trial unless they take a plea deal." "Do you think they will? Plead guilty? With the evidence you have?" "They'd be stupid not to. They're facing life in prison if this goes to trial. A plea deal might get them 20 to 30 years instead." 20 to 30 years. Garrett would be in his 70s when he got out. Felicia would be in her 60s. Naomi felt no sympathy. They tried to end her life in her 40s. They deserved what they got. Back at the hotel, Naomi ordered room service and sat by the window, looking out at the Detroit skyline. The city lights sparkled in the darkness, beautiful and alive. Just like her. She'd survived. She'd outsmarted them. She'd won. But the cost had been steep. Her marriage was over. Her trust was shattered. Her life had been turned upside down. Still, as Naomi sat there with her dinner, she felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Relief. The nightmare was over. Now she could begin to heal. The next morning, news vans were parked outside the courthouse. Naomi sat in Attorney Simone's car, watching journalists set up cameras and reporters practice their opening lines. The story had broken overnight. Prominent tech CEO nearly murdered by husband and his mistress. "You don't have to go in," Simone said. "They can do the arraignment without you present." "No." Naomi adjusted her blazer, a deep burgundy that made her feel powerful. "I want to be there. I want them to see me alive and strong." "All right then. Stay close to me, don't answer any questions from reporters, and maintain your composure no matter what happens." They got out of the car, and immediately the journalists swarmed. "Mrs. Carter, how does it feel knowing your husband tried to kill you? Will you attend the trial? Are you planning to divorce him?" Simone pushed through the crowd with practiced ease. "No comment at this time. My client will make a statement after the arraignment." Inside the courthouse, Naomi felt the stares of everyone in the hallway. Word had spread fast. The successful businesswoman almost killed for her money. It was the kind of story people couldn't resist. In the courtroom, Naomi sat in the front row behind the prosecutor's table. She kept her back straight, her expression neutral. When they brought Garrett in wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs, she forced herself to watch. He looked haggard, like he hadn't slept. His eyes found hers immediately and she saw desperation there. She looked away. Felicia came in next, also in orange, her blonde hair messy and her eyes red from crying. She wouldn't look up, just stared at the floor. The judge, an older black man with stern features, entered. "All rise." The arraignment was quick and clinical. The prosecutor read the charges: conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, fraud, forgery. Each charge carried a potential sentence of decades. Garrett's public defender requested bail. "Your Honor, my client has no prior criminal record and strong ties to the community. Your client attempted to murder his wife for financial gain," the judge interrupted. "Bail is denied." Both defendants will remain in custody until trial. Garrett's face went pale. Your Honor, please. Save it for trial, Mr. Carter. As they led him away, Garrett twisted to look at Naomi. I never meant for it to go this far, he shouted. I was desperate. You have to understand. Naomi said nothing. There was nothing to say. Outside the courthouse, Attorney Simone made a brief statement to the press while Naomi stood beside her. Mrs. Naomi Carter is a victim of a calculated murder plot orchestrated by her husband and his mistress. Thanks to her intelligence, bravery, and quick thinking, she survived and gathered the evidence needed to bring these criminals to justice. She asks for privacy during this difficult time as she recovers from this trauma. Mrs. Carter, will you divorce your husband? A reporter shouted. Naomi stepped forward, and Simone moved aside to let her speak. I already filed the divorce papers this morning, Naomi said clearly. As far as I'm concerned, Garrett Carter is not my husband. He's a criminal who tried to murder me. That's all. More questions erupted, but Simone guided her away to the waiting car. Over the next 2 weeks, the story dominated local news. Details emerged about Garrett's debt, his affair with Felicia, the elaborate planning. Financial experts analyzed how much Naomi was worth and how Garrett had planned to steal it all. Technova Solutions became a household name, with many people expressing admiration for Naomi's company and business acumen. Her client list actually grew as companies wanted to work with the woman who'd outsmarted her would-be killers. But Naomi barely noticed any of it. She was focused on one thing, the trial. The preliminary hearing happened 3 weeks after the arrest. Naomi sat in the courtroom again as the prosecutor presented evidence. The recordings played through speakers, letting everyone hear Garrett and Felicia discussing murder as casually as lunch plans. Make sure she's asleep. Had trauma. Quick, tragic, accidental. $3 million from the life insurance. The defense attorneys looked deflated. There was no denying what the recordings captured. After the hearing, the judge ruled there was sufficient evidence to proceed to trial. As they left the courthouse, Simone's phone rang. She listened for a moment, then turned to Naomi with raised eyebrows. Garrett's attorney wants to discuss a plea deal. Naomi felt a surge of satisfaction. Already? They know they can't win. They're trying to minimize the damage. What are they offering? 25 years for Garrett, 20 for Felicia. No possibility of parole for 15 years. Naomi considered this. 25 years meant Garrett would be 70 when he got out. He'd lose everything. His freedom, his reputation, any chance of a normal life. Good. Tell them I want 30 years minimum for Garrett, Naomi said. He was the architect of this plan. He deserves more time. And I want full restitution of all money he stole through fraud. Simone smiled. I'll make the call. The negotiations took another week. Garrett's attorney argued for less time, claiming his client had mental health issues and financial pressure. The prosecutor, backed by Naomi's evidence and determination, held firm. Finally, they reached an agreement. 30 years for Garrett, 25 for Felicia, full restitution, and both would be registered as convicted felons with no possibility of early release. The plea hearing was scheduled for December 15th. Naomi marked it on her calendar and tried to return to normal life. She went back to work at Technova Solutions, threw herself into projects, met with clients. Her team welcomed her back with support and kindness. But at night, alone in her new apartment, she'd sold the house, couldn't bear to live there anymore. The trauma caught up with her. She had nightmares about Garrett pushing her downstairs, about drinking the drug tea, about not waking up in time. She started seeing a therapist, Dr. Monica Shaw, a woman in her 50s who specialized in trauma. What you experienced is attempted murder by someone you trusted, Dr. Shaw explained during their first session. The betrayal alone is enough to cause PTSD. Add in the fear, the danger, the deception. It's a lot to process. I just want to feel normal again, Naomi admitted. I want to stop jumping every time I hear footsteps behind me. I want to stop checking my food for poison. That will come with time. For now, focus on the fact that you survived. You're safe. And justice is being served. Justice. Yes. That was what Naomi clung to. On December 15th, the courtroom was packed. Media, curious citizens, and Naomi's supporters filled every seat. Garrett and Felicia were brought in, both looking thin and defeated. The months in jail had taken their toll. The judge read the terms of the plea agreement. Mr. Carter, do you understand that by accepting this plea, you are admitting guilt to conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, and multiple counts of fraud? Yes, Your Honor. Garrett's voice was barely audible. And you understand you will serve 30 years in state prison with no possibility of parole? Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Green, same question to you. Do you understand the terms? Yes, Your Honor. Felicia was crying again. The judge looked at both of them with disgust. I want you to understand something. This court sees many criminals. Thieves, con artists, people who make mistakes. But what you two did is among the most despicable crimes I've encountered. You didn't just plan to steal. You planned to murder. You targeted a woman who had done nothing wrong except be successful and trusting. You plotted her death with cold calculation. The only reason you're not facing life without parole is because she was smart enough and strong enough to stop you. The judge turned to Naomi. Mrs. Carter, would you like to make a victim impact statement? Naomi stood. She'd prepared this for weeks, written and rewritten it, memorized every word. Yes, Your Honor. She walked to the podium, feeling every eye in the courtroom on her. She looked directly at Garrett and Felicia. You tried to kill me because of greed. Not because I wronged you. Not because I hurt you. Because you wanted money. My money. Money I earned through hard work, sacrifice, and dedication. She saw Garrett flinch but continued. Garrett, I loved you. I trusted you. I supported you when your business failed. I never once threw it in your face or made you feel less than. I thought we were partners. I thought we were building a life together. Instead, you were planning my murder. Her voice cracked slightly, but she pushed through. You didn't just try to kill me. You tried to steal my legacy. My company, my accomplishments, everything I built. You wanted to erase me from existence and profit from it. That's evil. That's unforgivable. She turned to Felicia. And you? You barely knew me, but you agreed to help end my life. For what? For a man who was married? For money that wasn't yours? You sold your soul for greed. Felicia sobbed into her hands. The two of you taught me that trust is a gift that can be destroyed. You taught me that evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it looks like a husband making breakfast. Sometimes it wears a smile. Naomi's hands gripped the podium. But you also taught me something else. You taught me that I'm stronger than I ever knew. That I can face danger and survive. That I can seek justice and win. You tried to destroy me, but instead, you showed me how powerful I am. She took a breath. I'm not standing here as a victim. I'm standing here as a survivor. And I'm standing here to make sure you both pay for what you did. 30 years and 25 years aren't enough. No amount of time could truly be enough. But it's a start. Naomi stepped back from the podium. That's all, Your Honor. The judge nodded approvingly. Thank you, Mrs. Carter. Your strength is evident. He turned back to Garrett and Felicia. I accept the plea agreement. Garrett Carter, you are hereby sentenced to 30 years in state prison. Felicia Green, you are sentenced to 25 years. You are both ordered to pay full restitution to Mrs. Carter for all financial damages, including fraud and legal fees. May you use this time to reflect on the gravity of your crimes. The gavel struck and it was over. Officers led Garrett and Felicia away. As Garrett passed Naomi's row, he stopped. I'm sorry, he whispered. For everything. I'm so sorry. Naomi looked at him, this man she'd once loved, and felt nothing. Goodbye, Garrett. It was the last time she would ever speak to him. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed again. This time Naomi was ready. Justice has been served, she said into the cameras. These two criminals will spend decades in prison for their crimes. I hope other women in dangerous situations see this and know they don't have to be victims. They can fight back. They can survive. They can win. The applause from the crowd was unexpected but welcome. As Naomi walked away from the courthouse with attorney Simone, she felt lighter than she had in months. The nightmare was truly over. Now came the hard part, rebuilding her life. 3 months after the sentencing, Naomi stood in front of the mirror in her new penthouse apartment. The place was smaller than the house she'd shared with Garrett, but it was hers. Completely hers. Every piece of furniture, every decoration, every detail reflected her taste, not a compromise between two people. The view overlooked downtown Detroit, and at night, the city lights made her feel connected to something larger than her own pain. Today was special. She was giving her first public speech since the trial, at a conference for women entrepreneurs. The organizers had invited her months ago before everything happened. She'd almost canceled, but then decided she had a story to tell that might help others. Her phone buzzed. A text from Brianna, her assistant. Car is ready downstairs. You've got this, boss. Naomi smiled. Brianna had been a rock through everything, managing Technova Solutions when Naomi couldn't focus, deflecting press inquiries, bringing her coffee and food when she forgot to eat. In the lobby, a car waited. As they drove to the conference center, Naomi reviewed her notes one last time. She'd written the speech herself, no corporate polish, just raw truth. The conference center was packed. Hundreds of women filled the auditorium, many of them business owners, entrepreneurs, women who'd fought their own battles to succeed. Backstage, a conference organizer shook her hand. "Mrs. Carter, thank you so much for coming. Your story has inspired so many of our attendees. I hope it helps someone," Naomi said simply. When her name was called, she walked onto the stage. The applause was thunderous. Women stood cheering, some crying. Naomi stood at the podium, waiting for the noise to die down. When it finally did, she began. 3 months ago, I stood in a courtroom and watched my ex-husband get sentenced to 30 years in prison for trying to murder me. She paused, letting that sink in. I'm not telling you this for sympathy. I'm telling you because I want every woman here to understand something. Survival is not just about staying alive. It's about refusing to let someone else's evil destroy who you are. She told them this story. Not every detail, but enough. The discovery of the plot, the fear, the planning, the eventual triumph. I could have run, Naomi said. I could have just disappeared, changed my name, started over somewhere else. But I didn't. Because running would have meant he won. Running would have meant abandoning everything I built, everything I worked for. And I wasn't going to let him take that from me. She saw women in the audience nodding, some wiping their eyes. A lot of you have probably faced your own battles. Maybe not attempted murder, but discrimination, harassment, people trying to take credit for your work, partners who didn't support your dreams. We all have those stories. And what I learned is that we're stronger than we think. We're smarter than they expect. And we're capable of protecting ourselves and our legacies. Naomi gripped the podium. After the sentencing, people kept asking me if I was okay. If I'd recovered. And the truth is, I'm not sure I'll ever fully recover. There's a scar now, emotional and psychological. I have moments where I can't trust anyone, where I panic at small things, where the trauma resurfaces. But I'm working through it. I'm healing. And I'm not letting it stop me from living. She smiled, genuine warmth breaking through. Technova Solutions is stronger than ever. We've signed new clients, launched new products, expanded our team. The company my ex-husband tried to steal is thriving. And I'm thriving too in ways I didn't expect. Naomi looked out at the sea of faces. So here's what I want you to take from this. First, trust your instincts. Something feels wrong, investigate. Don't dismiss your gut feelings as paranoia. Second, document everything. In business and in life, evidence is power. Third, build a support network of people you can trust. I couldn't have survived without my attorney, my investigator, my assistant, my therapist. We need each other. She took a breath. Fourth, and most important, you are not weak for being vulnerable. You are not foolish for trusting someone who betrayed you. You are human. What matters is what you do when you discover the betrayal. Do you crumble or do you fight back? The applause started again, building into a roar. I chose to fight, Naomi said over the noise. And I won. You can too. After the speech, women lined up to talk to her. Some shared their own stories of betrayal and survival. Others thanked her for her courage. A few just wanted to shake her hand and tell her she inspired them. One woman, maybe in her 30s, waited until the end. Mrs. Carter, my husband has been pressuring me to add him to my business accounts. Something feels off about it, but I thought I was being paranoid. Naomi looked her in the eye. Trust that feeling. Protect your assets. And if he gets angry about it, that tells you everything you need to know. The woman nodded, tears in her eyes. Thank you. As Naomi left the conference center, she felt something she hadn't felt in months. Purpose. Her pain had meaning now. Her story could help others. That made it all worth something. Back at Technova Solutions, Naomi dove into work. The company had weathered the storm of publicity remarkably well. In fact, several new clients specifically chose Technova because they admired Naomi's strength. People want to work with a survivor, Brianna explained. They see you as someone who doesn't quit, who fights for what's hers. That's exactly the kind of business partner they want. Naomi promoted Brianna to VP of Operations. The young woman had more than earned it. She also started making changes to the company's culture. She implemented policies to help employees dealing with domestic violence or financial abuse. She partnered with local organizations that supported women leaving dangerous relationships. She created a fund to provide legal assistance to employees facing exploitation. Technova isn't just about technology anymore, she told her leadership team. It's about empowerment. About showing people they can overcome. The team embraced it. Within months, Technova's reputation grew beyond just being a successful tech company. They became known as a company that cared, that made a difference. One evening, as Naomi worked late in her office, Brianna knocked on the door. "Boss, there's someone here to see you. Says it's personal." Naomi looked up warily. "Who?" "Her name is Angela. She's Garrett's sister." Naomi's stomach tightened. She hadn't spoken to anyone from Garrett's family since the arrest. They'd all distanced themselves, embarrassed by the scandal. "Should I send her away?" Brianna asked. Naomi thought about it, then shook her head. "No. Send her in." Angela Carter was younger than Garrett, maybe 40, with the same features but softer, kinder. She entered the office nervously, clutching her purse. "Mrs. Carter, Naomi. Thank you for seeing me." "I'll give you 5 minutes," Naomi said coolly. Angela sat down, her hands shaking. "I wanted to apologize. For my brother. For what he did. For not seeing it sooner." "You didn't know?" "No. I mean, I knew he was having money problems and I knew he'd been distant from you. But I never imagined." She trailed off, tears forming. "I never thought he was capable of something like that." Naomi studied her. Angela seemed genuine. "Why are you here?" "Because you deserved an apology from his family. Because what he did was monstrous and someone should acknowledge that." Angela met her eyes. "And because I wanted you to know that not everyone in the Carter family is like him. Some of us still have a conscience." Despite herself, Naomi felt a flicker of sympathy. "It's not your fault, Angela. I keep thinking I should have seen signs. Should have warned you. He fooled everyone. That's what narcissists do." Naomi leaned back in her chair. "Your brother made his choices. You're not responsible for them." Angela nodded, wiping her eyes. "He's miserable in prison, you know. He calls me sometimes. Cries. Says he didn't mean for it to go so far." "He meant every bit of it," Naomi said firmly. "He just didn't mean to get caught." "You're right." Angela stood. "I won't take up any more of your time. I just needed you to know that some of us are horrified by what he did. And some of us think you're incredibly brave." After Angela left, Naomi sat in silence for a while. That conversation had been unexpected but oddly healing. It reminded her that Garrett's betrayal didn't mean all people were evil. Most people were good. Most people had consciences. She just had the misfortune of marrying one who didn't. Over the next few months, Naomi continued healing. She kept seeing Dr. Shaw weekly, working through the trauma. She reconnected with old friends she'd neglected during her marriage. She traveled, visiting places she'd always wanted to see. And slowly, carefully, she began to trust again. Not quickly. Not easily. But inch by inch, day by day, she rebuilt her ability to believe in people. One Saturday in April, Naomi volunteered at a community center that helped women escape abusive relationships. She taught a workshop on financial independence and protecting assets. After the workshop, a man approached her. He was tall, maybe mid-40s, with dark skin, kind eyes, and an easy smile. He wore a volunteer t-shirt. "Mrs. Carter? I'm Jerome Mitchell. I coordinate the programs here. That was an incredible workshop." "Thank you. I hope it helped." It did. These women need practical advice from someone who's been through it. He extended his hand. "Would you consider coming back? Maybe making this a regular thing?" Naomi shook his hand, noticing how warm and steady his grip was. "I think I'd like that." "Great. Let me get your contact information." As they exchanged numbers and discussed scheduling, Naomi found herself smiling. Really smiling for the first time in what felt like forever. Jerome was professional, respectful, and genuinely passionate about helping people. He didn't mention her story beyond the workshop. He didn't treat her like a celebrity or a victim. He just treated her like a person. It was refreshing. Over the following weeks, Naomi returned to the community center regularly. She taught workshops, mentored women, shared her expertise. And each time she'd see Jerome, usually organizing something or helping someone. They'd chat briefly, always friendly, always appropriate. But Naomi noticed things. The way Jerome listened when people talked. The way he remembered details about everyone's lives. The way he genuinely cared. He was nothing like Garrett. One evening, after a particularly emotional workshop where one woman had broken down crying about her abusive husband, Jerome found Naomi in the center's kitchen making tea. "Rough session?" he asked gently. "Yeah. That woman, Bethany, her story just hit close to home. Your strength probably gives her hope." Naomi sipped her tea. "I hope so. I remember feeling so alone when I realized what Garrett was planning. Like no one would believe me or help me. If I can make even one woman feel less alone, it's worth it. Jerome leaned against the counter. You're doing more than you know. Since you started coming here, we've seen an increase in women reaching out for help. They hear about you and think, if she can survive and thrive, maybe I can too. That's what I hoped for. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Jerome said, Can I ask you something personal? Sure. How did you do it? How did you not let the betrayal destroy your ability to trust anyone? Naomi considered the question. Honestly, I struggle with it every day. There are moments I want to isolate myself, never trust anyone again. But then I remember that Garrett was one bad person. He doesn't represent everyone. And if I let him take away my ability to connect with people, to believe in goodness, then he wins. I won't give him that power. Jerome nodded thoughtfully. That's wise. And brave. Or stubborn. Naomi smiled. I've been told I'm very stubborn. Nothing wrong with that. As the weeks turned into months, Naomi found herself looking forward to her volunteer days. Not just for the work but for the conversations with Jerome. He made her laugh. He made her think. He made her feel normal. One Saturday in June, after they'd finished organizing supplies for the center's summer program, Jerome asked, Would you want to grab coffee sometime? Not as colleagues, just as people? Naomi's immediate instinct was to say no. To protect herself. To avoid risk. But then she thought about everything she told those women in her workshops. About being brave. About not letting fear control your life. I'd like that, she heard herself say. Jerome's smile was genuine and warm. Great. How about Tuesday? Tuesday works. As Naomi drove home that night, she felt nervous butterflies in her stomach. She was going on a date. Her first since the divorce. Her first since almost being murdered. It terrified her. But it also excited her. Because maybe, just maybe, there was life after betrayal. Maybe there was happiness after trauma. Maybe she could have a fresh start. And maybe, despite everything Garrett had done, she could still believe in love. Just not the kind she'd had before. This time she'd be smarter. This time she'd be cautious. But this time she'd also be open to possibility. Because Naomi Carter was many things, but she was not going to let Garrett's evil make her bitter. She was going to live. Really live. And that, she thought as she parked in her building's garage, was the best revenge of all. 6 months after Garrett and Felicia accepted their plea deals, Naomi's life had settled into a new rhythm. She still ran Technova Solutions, now more successful than ever. She still volunteered at the community center every Saturday. And she was still seeing Jerome, slowly and carefully building something that felt healthy and real. It was different from what she'd had with Garrett. Jerome was transparent about everything. His finances, his past relationships, his life. He didn't hide things or play games. He communicated. And most importantly, he supported her healing without trying to rush it. Take all the time you need, he told her on their third date. I'm not going anywhere. That patience meant everything. But despite the progress in her personal life, Naomi couldn't fully move forward until one last piece fell into place: the formal trial proceedings. Although Garrett and Felicia had pleaded guilty, there were still legal matters to resolve. Restitution amounts needed to be determined. Victim impact statements needed to be formally recorded. And the full scope of their crimes needed to be documented for the court record. In August, Naomi received a call from the prosecutor, District Attorney Rebecca Owens. Naomi, we need you to testify next week. There's a restitution hearing to determine exactly how much Garrett owes you beyond the initial fraud charges. His defense team is trying to minimize the amount. Naomi felt her jaw tighten. Of course they are. Bring documentation of all costs, legal fees, therapy expenses, business losses, everything. We're going to make sure you're fully compensated. The hearing was scheduled for August 23rd. Naomi spent days preparing with her team. They compiled financial records showing the cost of private investigators, attorneys, security measures she'd had to implement, therapy, and lost business opportunities while she dealt with the crisis. The total was staggering, over $300,000. And that's just the measurable costs, Attorney Simone pointed out. It doesn't account for emotional damage, reputational harm, or the fact that you'll probably have trust issues for years. The day of the hearing arrived. Naomi wore a charcoal gray suit and minimal makeup. She wanted to look professional but not wealthy. She didn't want Garrett's attorneys trying to argue she could afford the losses. The courtroom was less crowded than during the sentencing. Just lawyers, a few reporters, and some court staff. Garrett was brought in wearing prison clothes. He'd lost weight, looked older. When he saw Naomi, his expression crumpled. She looked away. D.A. Owens presented the financial evidence first, walking the judge through every expense Naomi had incurred because of Garrett's actions. The defendant's crimes forced Mrs. Carter to hire round-the-clock security. She had to retain multiple attorneys. She required extensive therapy. She lost business contracts because she couldn't focus on work while fearing for her life. The total documented costs exceed $300,000, and that's conservative. Garrett's public defender stood. Your Honor, my client is indigent. He has no assets, no income, and is facing 30 years in prison. Ordering him to pay $300,000 is pointless. He'll never be able to pay it. D.A. Owens responded quickly. The defendant owes this money regardless of his ability to pay. When he's eventually released from prison, any income he earns should go toward restitution. Additionally, if he receives any inheritance, settlement, or windfall, that money should be seized to pay his debt to Mrs. Carter. The judge nodded. I agree. Mrs. Carter, please come forward to give your testimony. Naomi stood and approached the witness stand. She was sworn in and sat down, acutely aware of Garrett staring at her. D.A. Owens approached. Mrs. Carter, can you describe the financial impact of the defendant's crimes? Beyond the direct costs of legal representation and security, Naomi began, I had to sell our house at a loss because I couldn't live there anymore. That cost me approximately $50,000. I had to move unexpectedly, breaking a lease and paying penalties. I had to replace our joint financial accounts and credit cards, some of which Garrett had fraudulently maxed out. And I had to take a leave from actively managing my company during the most critical period, which resulted in lost opportunities worth at least $200,000. So we're talking about over $500,000 in total impact? At minimum, yes. And this doesn't include emotional damages? No. You can't put a price on what it's like to discover your husband wants you dead. To live in fear. To lose all sense of safety and trust. Naomi's voice remained steady. I have nightmares still. I struggle with anxiety. I can't even take medication anymore without panicking that it's been tampered with. Those costs are immeasurable. Garrett's attorney stood. Objection. This is turning into another victim impact statement. We're here to discuss financial restitution only. Sustained, the judge said. Mrs. Carter, please limit your testimony to financial matters. Understood, Your Honor. Naomi looked directly at the judge. The point is that Garrett's actions devastated me financially, professionally, and personally. He should be held accountable for all of it. After she stepped down, the judge reviewed the documentation. Mr. Carter, you stole from your wife through fraud. You attempted to murder her for financial gain. You caused her to incur massive expenses defending herself and rebuilding her life. The court finds that you owe Mrs. Carter restitution in the amount of $523,000, representing all documented costs plus projected ongoing therapy expenses. Garrett's face went white. Your Honor, I can't. You will pay it, the judge interrupted. If it takes you the rest of your life. Any money you earn, inherit, or receive will be garnished until this debt is paid in full. Is that clear? Yes, Your Honor, Garrett whispered. As they prepared to adjourn, Garrett's attorney requested a moment to speak. Your Honor, my client would like to make a statement to Mrs. Carter, if she's willing to hear it. All eyes turned to Naomi. D.A. Owens leaned over. You don't have to agree to this. But Naomi was curious. What could Garrett possibly have to say now? I'll listen, she said. The judge nodded. Mr. Carter, you have 2 minutes. Garrett stood, his hands shaking. He looked at Naomi with tears in his eyes. Naomi, I know sorry isn't enough. I know I destroyed everything. But I need you to understand why I did it. You don't owe me an explanation, Naomi said coldly. You owe me money and time in prison. That's all. Please just listen. Garrett's voice broke. When my business failed, I felt like nothing. Like I'd failed as a man, as a provider. You were so successful, and I couldn't even keep my company afloat. The debt piled up. These guys I'd borrowed from started threatening me, threatening violence if I didn't pay. I panicked. So you decided to kill me, Naomi stated flatly. I didn't know what else to do. Felicia, she made it seem possible. She said we could be together, that we deserved happiness. She twisted everything in my mind until murder seemed like the only solution. Don't blame Felicia for your choices, Naomi snapped. You're an adult. You decided to kill me. You planned it. You executed it. That's on you, not her. Garrett wiped his eyes. You're right. I'm not trying to make excuses. I just wanted you to know that I never stopped loving you. Even when I was planning. He couldn't finish the sentence. You don't love people you try to murder, Naomi said, her voice like ice. Love is about protection, support, trust. What you did was the opposite of love. It was evil. I know that now. Prison has given me time to think about what I did, what I destroyed. I hate myself for it. Good, Naomi said simply. You should hate yourself. Every day for the rest of your life. The courtroom was silent. Even the judge seemed shocked by Naomi's bluntness. Garrett slumped. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to hear me say I'm sorry. For everything. Naomi stood. I heard you. And I don't care. Your apology doesn't change anything. You tried to kill me. You stole from me. You betrayed 15 years of marriage. Sorry doesn't fix that. 30 years in prison doesn't even fix that. But at least it's something. She turned to the judge. Am I dismissed, Your Honor? Yes, Mrs. Carter. Thank you for your testimony. As Naomi walked out of the courtroom, she didn't look back at Garrett. She heard him calling her name, heard his attorney trying to quiet him, but she kept walking. Outside, Day Owens caught up with her. That was powerful. He won't forget that anytime soon. I don't care if he forgets or remembers, Naomi said. I just want him out of my life permanently. He is. The restitution order means he'll be connected to you financially until it's paid off, but you'll never have to see him or speak to him again unless you choose to. I won't choose to. Simone appeared, having watched from the back of the courtroom. You did great in there. Firm, clear, no room for manipulation. I'm done being manipulated by Garrett Carter. Naomi took a deep breath of the August air. This chapter is closed. That evening, Jerome took Naomi to dinner at a quiet restaurant overlooking the Detroit River. He'd been supportive all day, texting encouragement before the hearing and being available if she needed to talk after. How are you feeling? He asked over wine. Relieved. Angry. Vindicated. Exhausted. Naomi smiled tiredly. All of it at once. That's understandable. You faced him again. That takes courage. I just wanted him to know that he didn't break me. That I'm still here, still strong, still successful. He tried to erase me and he failed. Jerome reached across the table and took her hand. He didn't just fail. He lost everything while you gained everything. That's got to sting for him. I hope it does, Naomi admitted. Is that vindictive of me? It's human. He tried to murder you. Wanting him to suffer consequences is completely reasonable. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Then Jerome said, Can I ask you something? Always. When we first started dating, you were so guarded. Understandably. But lately I feel like you're more open, more present. What changed? Naomi considered the question. I realized that Garrett doesn't get to ruin the rest of my life. He took enough from me. He doesn't get to take my ability to trust good people. And you've shown me over and over that you're a good person. So I'm choosing to trust that. What if I disappoint you? Then I'll deal with it. But I refuse to live my life assuming everyone will betray me. That's no way to live. Jerome squeezed her hand. I promise I'll do my best not to disappoint you. That's all anyone can promise. Later that night, back at her apartment, Naomi stood on her balcony looking out at the city. She thought about everything that had happened over the past year. The discovery of the murder plot. The fear and planning. The confrontation and arrest. The trial and sentencing. And now, finally, the closing of legal matters. It had been the hardest year of her life. But she'd survived. More than survived, she'd thrived. Technova Solutions was more successful than ever. She'd helped dozens of women through her volunteer work. She'd found a therapist who understood her trauma. She'd made new friends who valued and respected her. And she'd met someone who treated her with genuine kindness. Garrett had wanted to destroy her. Instead, he destroyed himself. And she? She was standing on a balcony in a beautiful apartment in a city she loved, with a future full of possibility. That was the best ending she could have asked for. The final court date came in October, almost a year after Naomi had discovered Garrett's murder plot. This time it wasn't about Garrett directly. This time, Naomi was testifying at Felicia's separate hearing. Felicia's attorney had filed a motion claiming her client had been coerced by Garrett, that she was a victim of manipulation who deserved a reduced sentence. D.A. Owens called Naomi to explain why she disagreed. The courtroom felt familiar now. Naomi had been here so many times over the past year that the judge's bench, the witness stand, the gallery, all of it felt almost routine. Felicia looked terrible. Prison had been even harder on her than on Garrett. She was thin, pale, her blonde hair now showing dark roots. She wouldn't meet Naomi's eyes. After being sworn in, Day Owens began her questioning. Mrs. Carter, you heard Felicia Green's claims that she was manipulated by your ex-husband. Based on the evidence you gathered, does that seem accurate? No, Naomi said firmly. The messages I recovered show Felicia actively participating in planning my murder. She suggested methods. She researched poisons. She encouraged Garrett when he expressed doubt. That's not the behavior of someone being coerced. That's the behavior of a willing accomplice. Can you provide specific examples? Naomi pulled out printed messages. In one text conversation, Garrett said he was having second thoughts. Felicia responded, "Don't be weak now. We've come too far. Think about the life we'll have together." In another she wrote, "Once she's gone we can finally be happy. No more sneaking around, no more hiding. Just you and me and all that money." D.A. Owens displayed the messages on a screen for the court. Those don't sound like the words of a victim. They're not. Felicia wanted me dead just as much as Garrett did. Maybe more because at least Garrett had known me for 15 years. Felicia barely knew me at all, yet she was willing to help murder me for money and a man. Felicia's attorney stood. Objection. Mrs. Carter is speculating about my client's motives. I'm reading her own words, Naomi countered. Her messages specifically mention money and being together with Garrett. Those are her stated motives, not my speculation. The judge reviewed the messages. Objection overruled. Continue, Mrs. Carter. Felicia made choices, Naomi said. She chose to have an affair with a married man. She chose to participate in planning my murder. She chose to come to my house the day they intended to kill me. At every step she could have walked away. She could have gone to the police. She could have warned me. She did none of those things. Instead, she enabled and encouraged my attempted murder. In your view, should her sentence be reduced? Absolutely not. Felicia is exactly where she belongs, in prison for her crimes. The fact that she was in a relationship with Garrett doesn't excuse her actions. If anything, it makes them worse. She knew he was married. She knew I'd done nothing to her. And she still chose to help kill me. Felicia's attorney cross-examined next. Mrs. Carter, isn't it possible my client felt threatened by Mr. Carter? That she feared what he might do if she refused to help? I saw no evidence of that in any of their communications, Naomi replied. They seemed like equals in this plan. Partners. And when they were arrested, Felicia immediately tried to blame Garrett to save herself. That doesn't sound like someone who was afraid of him. That sounds like someone trying to manipulate the situation to her advantage. But you weren't in their relationship. You don't know what happened between them privately. You're right, I don't. But I know what they wrote to each other. I know what they said when they thought no one was listening. And all of that evidence points to Felicia being a willing, active participant in conspiracy to commit murder. The attorney looked frustrated. No further questions. D. Owens recalled Naomi for redirect. Mrs. Carter, how has Felicia's participation in this crime affected you? It made everything worse, Naomi answered honestly. If it had just been Garrett, if he'd been acting alone, I could at least understand it as one person's greed and desperation. But knowing that two people who were supposed to be rational adults, both decided my life was worth less than money in their affair, that's harder to process. It makes me question human nature itself. Do you believe Felicia has shown remorse? No. She's shown regret that she got caught. That's different from remorse. Remorse would mean accepting responsibility, acknowledging the harm she caused, and genuinely wishing she could undo it. All I've seen from Felicia is blame shifting and self-pity. After Naomi's testimony, several other witnesses testified. The private investigator detailed the surveillance recordings. A psychologist explained that Felicia's messages showed clear understanding of right and wrong, which contradicted claims of manipulation or coercion. Finally, the judge made his ruling. Having reviewed all evidence and testimony, this court finds that Ms. Green's claims of coercion are not credible. The evidence clearly shows she was an active, willing participant in the conspiracy to murder Mrs. Carter. Her motion for sentence reduction is denied. Ms. Green will serve her full 25-year sentence with no possibility of parole for 15 years. Felicia began crying. This isn't fair. I wasn't. Ms. Green, the judge interrupted sharply, you participated in a plot to murder an innocent woman for financial gain. You have shown no real remorse or accountability. You are fortunate you're only receiving 25 years. This court has no sympathy for you. You are dismissed. Officers led Felicia away, still crying and protesting. Outside the courthouse, Naomi gave her final statement to the press. Today, justice was served again. Both people who tried to murder me are now in prison, serving lengthy sentences they absolutely deserve. I hope this case sends a message. You cannot harm innocent people and expect to get away with it. Evidence matters. Truth matters. And women who refuse to be victims matter. A reporter called out, "What's next for you, Mrs. Carter?" Naomi smiled. Moving forward. Building my company. Helping other women. Living my life fully and without fear. The best revenge is living well, and that's exactly what I plan to do. The press conference wrapped up and Naomi left with Simone. That's it, Simone said. All legal proceedings are complete. Garrett and Felicia are in prison. Restitution is ordered. You're officially free from all of this. Naomi took a deep breath of autumn air. Free. I like the sound of that. What are you going to do now? First, I'm going to celebrate. Then I'm going to continue building the life they tried to steal from me. That evening, Naomi hosted a small dinner party at her apartment. Not a huge celebration, just intimate gathering of the people who'd supported her through the nightmare. Attorney Simone, investigator Thomas, her assistant Brianna, her therapist Dr. Shaw, a few close friends and Jerome. I want to thank all of you, Naomi said, raising her wine glass. This past year was the hardest of my life. But I survived because of people like you. People who believed in me, who fought for me, who helped me when I couldn't help myself. I'll never forget that. You survived because you're strong, Simone corrected. We just provided support. You did the hard work. We did it together, Naomi insisted. And I'm grateful. They toasted and settled into easy conversation. Brianna talked about Technova's newest client. Thomas shared stories from his detective days. Dr. Shaw offered insights into healing from trauma. And Jerome, sitting beside Naomi, simply held her hand. Later, after everyone had left, Jerome helped Naomi clean up. Thank you for tonight, she said, loading dishes into the dishwasher. It felt good to celebrate. You deserve to celebrate. You beat impossible odds. Naomi smiled. I guess I did, didn't I? Jerome set down the dish towel and turned to face her. Can I tell you something? Of course. When I first heard your story, I was amazed. But getting to know you these past months, I've realized the story doesn't capture who you really are. You're not just a survivor. You're brilliant, kind, funny, passionate about helping others. You're so much more than what happened to you. Naomi felt tears prick her eyes. That means a lot. I'm falling in love with you, Jerome said quietly. And I wanted you to know. No pressure, no expectations. Just, I wanted you to know. Naomi's breath caught. A year ago, she'd been married to a man who'd claimed to love her while planning her murder. Now she was standing in her kitchen with a man who showed her genuine, honest love through his actions, not just his words. I'm scared, she admitted. Scared to trust those words again. I know. And that's okay. Take all the time you need. Naomi looked into Jerome's eyes and saw nothing but sincerity. No hidden agendas. No manipulation. Just honest emotion. I'm not ready to say it back yet, she said carefully. But I'm getting there. You make me feel safe. You make me feel valued. And that's something I thought I'd never feel again. Jerome smiled. That's more than enough for now. He kissed her forehead gently and returned to cleaning up, giving her space to process. Naomi watched him work, this kind man who'd entered her life at exactly the right time, and felt something she hadn't felt in over a year. Hope. Real, genuine hope for the future. The next week, Naomi received a letter. It was from the prison, from Garrett. She almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity got the better of her. She opened it in her office at Technova, Brianna sitting nearby in case she needed support. The letter was handwritten, Garrett's familiar scrawl covering 3 pages. Naomi, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I wouldn't blame you if you tore this up without reading it. But I need to write this even if you never respond. I've had a lot of time to think in here. Too much time. And I've realized things about myself that I should have seen years ago. I was jealous of you. There, I said it. You were so successful, so confident, so capable. And I was failing. My business collapsed. I couldn't find steady work. I felt emasculated and worthless. Instead of dealing with those feelings, I resented you for being what I couldn't be. That's not an excuse. Nothing excuses what I did. But it's the truth. Felicia fed into that resentment. She made me feel important again, made me feel like a man. And when she suggested we could be together if you were gone, I latched onto it. I convinced myself I deserved that happiness, that fresh start. I was wrong. So wrong. You didn't deserve any of what I put you through. You were a good wife. You supported me, loved me, believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. And I repaid that by trying to kill you. I will spend every day for the rest of my life regretting that. Prison is hard, but it's nothing compared to the guilt I carry. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm just asking you to know that I understand now. I understand what I destroyed. I understand what I lost. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I threw it away for greed and cowardice. I hope you're happy now. I hope you found peace. You deserve all the good things life can offer. I'm sorry. For everything. Garrett. Naomi set down the letter and stared at it for a long moment. What did he say? Brianna asked quietly. He apologized. Said he was jealous of me, that he realizes what he did was wrong. Do you believe him? Naomi thought about it. I think he believes it. I think prison has given him clarity he didn't have before. But it doesn't change anything. An apology doesn't undo attempted murder. Are you going to write back? No. There's nothing to say. He made his choices and now he lives with the consequences. Naomi folded the letter and put it in a drawer. She didn't throw it away. Maybe someday she'd want to look at it again, but she didn't dwell on it either. Garrett was her past. He didn't get space in her present or her future. That weekend, Naomi attended the graduation ceremony at the community center. 5 women who'd been in her financial independence workshop were graduating from the center's full program, ready to start new lives free from abusive partners. Naomi watched them receive their certificates, saw the pride and hope in their faces, and felt a swell of emotion. This was what mattered. This was how she turned her pain into purpose. After the ceremony, one of the graduates approached her. Mrs. Carter, I just wanted to thank you. Your story gave me the courage to leave. If you could survive what you went through and come out stronger, I figured I could too. Naomi hugged her. You're going to do amazing things. I can feel it. Jerome appeared beside her as the woman walked away. You're making a real difference here. It feels good. Like everything I went through had a purpose. It did. You're proof that victims can become survivors and survivors can become helpers. Naomi leaned against him. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You're just now noticing. She laughed and it felt wonderful. Easy. Natural. A year ago, she'd been trapped in a marriage with a man who wanted her dead. Now she was standing in a community center surrounded by women she'd helped, next to a man who genuinely cared about her, doing work that mattered. The transformation was remarkable. As Naomi drove home that evening, she reflected on everything. The discovery, the fear, the planning, the confrontation, the trial, the healing. It had been a journey she never wanted to take. But she'd survived it. More than survived, she'd conquered it. And now, finally, she could close that chapter and start writing a new one. A chapter filled with success, purpose, genuine connection, and peace. Garrett and Felicia were in prison where they belonged. And Naomi Carter was free. Truly, completely free. 6 months later, spring arrived in Detroit with warmth and possibility. Naomi stood in the conference room at Technova Solutions, looking out at her team. They'd just closed a $20 million contract, the biggest in company history. I want to thank all of you, she said to the assembled employees. This contract represents years of hard work, innovation, and dedication. Technova isn't just my company anymore. It's our company. And together we're building something remarkable. The team applauded. Brianna, now officially Vice President of Operations, stood beside Naomi with a proud smile. After the meeting, Naomi returned to her office. On her desk sat a magazine with her face on the cover. Naomi Carter, From Victim to Victor, How One Woman Built an Empire After Surviving Attempted Murder. She'd given the interview reluctantly, but the journalist had been respectful, focusing on her business success and advocacy work rather than sensationalizing the trauma. The article had been published last week, and already Naomi had received hundreds of messages from women thanking her for her courage and asking for advice. She couldn't respond to all of them, but she'd started a foundation to help. The Carter Foundation for Women's Empowerment provided grants for legal assistance, therapy, and business development to women escaping dangerous relationships. The foundation had already helped 30 women in just 3 months. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. Jerome entered, carrying 2 coffee cups. Thought you might need this, he said, handing her one. You're a mind reader. Naomi took a sip, savoring the familiar taste. Jerome had learned exactly how she liked her coffee. 1 cream, no sugar. How's your day going? Good. Busy. The magazine article generated a lot of interest in the foundation. I'm meeting with a potential donor this afternoon. That's great. Jerome sat in the chair across from her desk. I wanted to talk to you about something. Naomi felt a flutter of nervousness. Okay. We've been dating for almost 10 months now. And I know you've been taking things slow, which I completely respect. But I wanted to know, where do you see this going? It was a fair question. Naomi set down her coffee and thought carefully about her answer. A year ago, I would have said I'd never trust anyone again. Never date again. Never risk my heart again. She met his eyes. But you've changed that. You've shown me that not all men are like Garrett. That healthy relationships exist. That I can trust again without being naive. Jerome waited, letting her continue at her own pace. I see this going somewhere real, Naomi said. I'm not ready to move in together or get married or any of that yet. But I can see a future with you. A genuine future. And that's something I didn't think I'd ever feel again. Jerome's smile was warm and genuine. That's all I needed to hear. I'm not in a rush. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. We are. He stood and came around the desk, pulling her into a hug. Naomi relaxed into his embrace, feeling safe and valued. This was what love should feel like. Not manipulation or control or fear. Just mutual respect, support, and genuine affection. That afternoon, Naomi met with the potential donor for her foundation. He was a businessman named Mr. Thomas Richardson, a black man in his 60s who'd built a successful real estate empire. Mrs. Carter, I've been following your story, he said in the foundation's small office. What you survived, what you built from it, it's inspiring. I want to contribute to your foundation. That's very generous. What kind of contribution are you thinking? $500,000. Naomi nearly choked on her water. I'm sorry, did you say $500,000? I did. My own daughter went through an abusive marriage. She didn't have the resources or support to leave safely. By the time she found the courage, he'd isolated her from everyone. She eventually escaped, but it took years. Mr. Richardson's eyes were sad. If this foundation had existed then, it could have helped her. So I want to make sure it exists for other women. Naomi felt tears forming. Mr. Richardson, this donation will change lives. We'll be able to help hundreds of women. That's the goal. He pulled out a checkbook. I'm writing this check in my daughter's name. She's rebuilt her life now, but she'll always carry those scars. Maybe this will help others avoid that pain. After Mr. Richardson left, Naomi sat in the foundation office and cried. Happy tears this time. Tears of gratitude and hope. A year and a half ago, she'd been fighting for her life. Now she was fighting for other women's lives. And winning. That evening, Naomi attended a gala for women entrepreneurs. She'd been invited as a keynote speaker, something she'd become more comfortable with over time. She wore a stunning blue dress, her natural curls styled elegantly, minimal jewelry. She looked successful, confident, powerful. During her speech, Naomi told her story again. But this time she focused less on the trauma and more on the triumph. I could have let what happened to me define my future, she said to the crowd of several hundred women. I could have become bitter, isolated, afraid. And honestly, for a while, I was all those things. But then I made a choice. I chose to use my experience to help others. I chose to build something positive from something negative. I chose to live. The applause was thunderous. Whatever challenges you're facing, in business, in life, in relationships, remember that you have choices. You can survive. You can thrive. You can turn your pain into purpose. Naomi paused, looking out at the sea of faces. And you don't have to do it alone. We lift each other up. We support each other. That's how we all succeed. After her speech, women lined up to talk to her, share their stories, thank her for her words. Naomi spent hours listening, offering advice, making connections. Jerome waited patiently nearby, proud of her but giving her space to do her work. Around midnight, they finally left the gala. You were incredible up there, Jerome said as they walked to his car. I just told the truth. You gave people hope. That's more powerful than you realize. As they drove through Detroit streets, Naomi looked out at the city lights. This city had been her home her entire life. She'd grown up in poverty here, built her business here, nearly died here, and ultimately triumphed here. Detroit was in her blood. I've been thinking, Jerome said, breaking the comfortable silence, about the community center. What about it? We've outgrown the space. We're turning away women who need help because we don't have room. I was thinking we could expand. That costs money. I know. But what if we did a fundraiser? A big one. You've got connections now, visibility. We could raise enough to move to a bigger location, hire more staff, help more people. Naomi considered this. I could contribute some money myself. The foundation could partner with the center. Technova could sponsor the event. Would you want to do that? Absolutely. The center changed my life. It gave me purpose when I needed it most. I want to see it grow and help even more women. Jerome reached over and squeezed her hand. Have I mentioned lately that you're amazing? Not in the last hour, so I was starting to worry. They both laughed. Back at Naomi's apartment, they settled on the couch with glasses of wine. Can I tell you something? Naomi asked. Always. A year ago, I couldn't imagine being this happy. I thought Garrett had broken something inside me that could never be fixed. But sitting here with you, doing work I love, helping people, I realize he didn't break me. He challenged me. And I met that challenge and won. You did more than win. You transformed. We both did. Naomi turned to face him. You helped me heal, Jerome. You showed me what healthy love looks like. You gave me space to recover without pressuring me. You believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. You did the hard work. I just stood beside you. Naomi set down her wine glass. Her heart was pounding, but she knew what she wanted to say. I love you. Jerome's eyes widened. You really? Really? I love you. I'm in love with you. And I'm not afraid to say it anymore. Jerome pulled her into a kiss, deep and meaningful. When they broke apart, he was grinning. I love you too. So, always. They sat together in comfortable silence, holding each other. Naomi thought about everything that had led to this moment. The betrayal, the fear, the fight, the victory, the healing. All of it had brought her here to this apartment with this man living this life. She wouldn't wish what she'd been through on anyone. But she couldn't deny that it had changed her, made her stronger, made her more compassionate, made her more determined to make a difference. Garrett had tried to destroy her. Instead, he'd forged her into something unbreakable. 3 months later, in June, the community center held its expansion fundraiser. The event was held at a hotel ballroom with over 300 attendees. Naomi had helped organize everything, using her business connections to secure donations and sponsorships. Technova Solutions was the primary sponsor, with the Carter Foundation contributing as well. The evening raised over $2 million. $2 million. Jerome exclaimed when they announced the total. Do you know what we can do with $2 million? Change a lot of lives, Naomi answered. The new community center location was secured a month later. A 3-story building with space for counseling rooms, workshops, emergency housing, childcare, and legal consultations. Naomi attended the grand opening in August, cutting the ribbon alongside Jerome and other volunteers. This center represents hope, she said in her speech. Hope for women who think there's no escape. Hope for survivors who don't know what comes next. Hope for all of us that we can create a better, safer world. The center served its first residents that week. 20 women and their children moved into the emergency housing units, beginning their journeys to freedom and independence. Naomi met with several of them, sharing her story and offering encouragement. You survived the hardest part, she told one young woman named Crystal. Now comes the rebuilding. It won't be easy, but it's worth it. You're worth it. Crystal cried and hugged her. Thank you. For everything. In September, on the 2-year anniversary of discovering Garrett's murder plot, Naomi took the day off work. She drove to a park on the outskirts of Detroit, found a quiet bench by a lake and sat. 2 years ago, she'd been terrified and betrayed, fighting for her survival. Today she was at peace. She thought about Garrett locked away in prison. He'd serve at least 20 more years before even being considered for parole. By then he'd be an old man with no money, no reputation, and no future. She thought about Felicia, similarly imprisoned, living with the consequences of her greed and cruelty. And then she stopped thinking about them. They didn't deserve space in her mind anymore. Naomi pulled out her phone and called her mother, Helen, who still lived in Florida. Hi, baby, her mother answered warmly. How are you? I'm good, Mama. Really good. I'm proud of you, you know. The way you handled everything, the way you rebuilt your life. You're stronger than I ever was. I learned from the best. They talked for an hour about everything and nothing. About Technova's success and the foundation's work in Jerome and life. When Naomi hung up, she felt full. Complete. She'd survived attempted murder. She'd sent her attackers to prison. She'd built an empire and a legacy. She'd found love again. She'd won. Not just against Garrett and Felicia, but against fear itself. Naomi stood from the bench and walked back to her car. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was beautiful. Life was beautiful. And she was going to live it fully, fearlessly, and victoriously. That evening, Jerome cooked dinner at her apartment. Nothing fancy, just pasta and salad, but made with care. "What were you thinking about today?" he asked over the meal. "How far I've come. How different my life is now compared to 2 years ago. Better, different? Infinitely better. I have work that matters. I have people I love and trust. I have peace." Naomi smiled. 2 years ago I was fighting to survive. Now I'm fighting to help others survive. That's a huge difference. You're a survivor who became a warrior. I like that. After dinner, they sat on the balcony watching the city lights twinkle in the darkness. "I have something to tell you," Jerome said. "What's that?" "I've been offered a job. Director of Community Outreach for a national organization that helps domestic violence survivors. It's a big position, more money, more reach." Naomi felt a pang of panic. "Where is it based?" "Right here in Detroit." "I wouldn't leave." She relaxed. "That's amazing, Jerome. You should take it." "You think so?" "Absolutely. You're passionate about this work and you're good at it. This is your chance to make an even bigger impact." Jerome smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that. Because the organization wants to partner with your foundation. They love what you've built and think we could do great work together." Naomi's mind was already spinning with possibilities. We could create a national network. Share resources, best practices, success stories. We could help women all over the country. Exactly what I was thinking. They stayed on the balcony late into the night, planning and dreaming. Two people who'd found each other in the aftermath of trauma, now building something beautiful together. Naomi leaned against Jerome's shoulder, feeling content and hopeful. She'd survived the worst thing she could imagine. And now she was living the best life she could dream of. Garrett had wanted to erase her. Instead, he'd freed her. Freed her from a bad marriage, from misplaced trust, from anything holding her back. And in that freedom, Naomi had discovered who she truly was. Not just a successful businesswoman. Not just a survivor. But a force for good. A voice for the voiceless. A light in the darkness for women who needed hope. As she sat on that balcony in the city she loved, with a man who truly loved her, doing work that mattered, Naomi Carter smiled. This was victory. This was justice. This was life. And it was absolutely beautiful.